Hey, good evening. I'm Kyle T. Mosley of the Black Sports Insiders, and welcome to another installment. We are just about to hit Halloween, and we've got some ghoulish and growling things that are going to happen tomorrow night in Orangeburg, South Carolina, as well as they got some crazy things happening at the World Series too. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But here to join us on the panel tonight, we have Keisha J. Kelly. How you doing, Keish?
All is well. All is well.
All right, good. And we have Mr. Wilton C. Jackson, the second. Will? Okay. And we have Mr. Ray Rogers. What's going on, Ray?
Left hands up, man. Commanders. I'm not a fan, but hey, got to show respect to the Commanders today.
Gotta show some respect tonight because we have a special guest out of the Commanders organization. And you guys know him very well, NFL legend as well as HBCU legend, Mr. Doug Williams. He's going to join us tonight. And we have Emory Hunt, who we did a pre-recorded interview talking a little bit about what's happening in the National Football League, as well as a preview of the South Carolina versus NCCU battle that will go down tomorrow night. So let's start off. What's happening in HBCU world? Jackson State, they were on. Did they have a game? Well, okay, we can't hear Will tonight at this time. Keisha, let's talk about Southern.
There he is. There he is.
Okay, Will, how you doing, man?
I am doing good. Can y'all hear me now?
We can hear you now, Doc. We can hear you now. All right. So, Will, I was asking about Jackson State. How's everything out there in Jackson, Mississippi?
Well, I mean, it's homecoming week at Jackson State. They're coming off their win against FAMU last week. And Cal, honestly, when I said in T.C. Taylor's press conference this week, the moral of the story or the word that was being talked about more so than anything was making sure Jackson State obviously doesn't stay complacent or doesn't become complacent. Coming into this game against Arkansas Pine Bluff, a team that's going to be looking to get a win against them. And I mean, really, everything's still in front of Jackson State to potentially, to make this run to represent the SWAC East. Obviously, there's other factors still in play with Alabama State. FAMU's not technically still out of it as well. And it's just we're getting into that very important season of college football, and we know the West is still the wacky West. Keisha knows all about this, and she was trying to talk about me and thinking I was ignoring her. But so it's a lot of good football left to be played, and this weekend you're going to see a lot of that.
Yeah, and not only that, there's another tiger that's lurking in the West, and it's down here in H-Town, and those guys, Chris Dishman, as well as Jace Wilson and those guys, they shocked Grambling State University and also shocked Mickey Joseph, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But the Tigers of Texas Southern, they are just a game behind now of Southern University as well as Alcorn State, Keisha. And Southern had a hard-fought loss to the FAMU guys down there in Bragg Stadium. Talk about that.
I did. I got a chance to, which is crazy because I hadn't been on a SWAC coaches call in a while, and Monday was wild. It was a wild call, but I did. I got a chance to hop on, and I did. I wanted to, ask some of the questions, mainly about, the offensive side of the ball. That's what everybody's worried about with Southern. What are we doing with offense? It's just some crazy things. And so got a chance to ask, Coach Graves about the concerns of that, because we're coming off a loss. Alabama A&M is coming off a loss, and then we face each other, right? And so, we'll head into Huntsville, and the question is strictly like, what do you do as far as, the rest of the season? You're still ranked number one, but you still got to play Grambling. You still got to play Alabama A&M. So we still, Bethune-Cookman, we still got games that are on the table. And the worst thing you could do is be in a situation where you have to possibly go back to Jackson, right? And you see the same thing that you saw earlier this season. So, it was a bad thing. And one of the things he talked about was, it's just not consistent. and it's just simple. Jim asked him, what are we going to do at quarterback? Like, are we calling the starter quarterback? What are we going to do? So definitely some things. I'm rooting for you, win or loss, but it's always going to be, what are we doing like every single week? You don't want to have a replay of what you saw last season. That's what you don't want to have. And so, it's hopefully they can go into Huntsville and get the win this weekend. I mean, of course, Huntsville's home, Alabama A&M is home, but hopefully, the Jaguars, we can go in and get a W. And then that just kind of sees where, Coach Maynard and the Bulldogs going to lie.
Yeah, and that's a situation that's in flux as well. Coach Maynard, man, I don't care anybody. He's a comical and he's a great guy. He's a great football coach, but they're not winning. They're up and down. They're sporadic. And you just used the word inconsistent, right, Keisha? That's an inconsistent program over the past 3 years, I would say, especially after Glass left the program. And what direction will they head into? Will they decide to make some changes? We don't know. We shall see. And going out to the MEAC, we're talking about some situations out there. Surprisingly, the Norfolk State Spartans won, and but it was a good game, right, Ray?
Yeah, homecoming, and you facing a team that is lacking confidence in Howard, and they stole one at home. Big crowd, by the way, at Norfolk State for that game. And I want to just say it revived a little bit of hope amongst the alumni, because this is MEAC play just starting out, so you still have an opportunity to make up some ground. If you remember, long ago, week one, that FAMU game, Norfolk competed. Many thought Norfolk was going to pull that game out. So it's not over for the Spartans just yet. And like I said, I think that the fan base, they call Howard at the right time, because Howard is just struggling, I think, with confidence. Howard has all the talent on both sides of the ball, but unfortunately, it just hasn't come together. Slim win, but you take it and you build that confidence going into Morgan State this coming Saturday, who performed very well against North Carolina Central, but at the same time, Morgan State offensively, they just have not been able to cash in this whole season. So I think Norfolk is riding high coming out of that Howard game. Again, a homecoming win.
Would another win help save Coach Dawson Oldham's?
Man, that's an interesting question, because based on what I'm hearing there, the school does not prioritize football. So it won't take a lot, I feel like, to save his job. But I don't know how much pull the alumni has in terms of the program making a decision. I mentioned earlier who was being clamored for in terms of that job. So 2-0 in the MEAC, and an opportunity, although Central and South Carolina State pose huge challenges. Well, they already played Central. They already lost to Central. I'll take that back. They did lose already to Central. So no, they would have to be South Carolina State. No, I don't think a Morgan State win would save his job. Now, if they get a win against South Carolina State, then now we're talking.
Now, who are you hearing?
Oh, I told you, Michael Vick. That's the name that people, that's who they want. They want that guy who he's from that area. You dropped the bomb on me that he was interested in the Morehouse job, so you know he wants to coach. And he held that flag football clinic for young ladies at Norfolk State this summer, which even the alumni was a little bit upset that it didn't get more publicity than what it did. They feel like he could bring the recruits. He knows the area. That would be a perfect replacement to revive a football program that hasn't made noise in quite a while.
Yeah, I think the conference was a little bit late in getting the word out to the media. That's all. But other than that, I saw the photo ops that they had with Commissioner Steels and the rest of the people. So it was pretty good. Let's talk about this. Well, Mickey Joseph had a meltdown, but he really didn't melt down. In my opinion, it was more calculated than anything else. Talk about what happened at the SWAC press conference.
Well, so I actually didn't get a chance to get on that call this week, but just based off knowing what happened in the game and the situation, I mean, what in terms of the infraction that he's facing, it's warranted. Like, as a coach, you have to remember, like, everybody's going to have those moments on the field as a coach where you're really putting your team on your back, and you're trying to, advocate for your team to win. But in a case where if it's, a pass interference call or some sort, I'm just using that as an example. If it's a pass interference call in terms of knowing the rules, like it's one thing to know. I was actually we were talking about this on Dr. Kabill's show yesterday. We were talking about the fact that if you get tackled at the 8-yard line, but the referee puts the ball on the 12-yard line, and you go to the referee and say, okay, we got tackled at the 8-yard line, and they make that wrong mistake, it's like, okay, that's something wrong on their part. But a rule, like a pass interference rule, if this is in a book and this is what it says, then you got to go by the rules. And so in his particular case, it's just like you hate to see, that situation come for him. But at the end of the day, he definitely had a meltdown, and it's a situation that he essentially just has to pay for.
Can I add to that, Kyle?
Yeah.
Can I add to that? Because I was on the call, right? And so in this situation, we have complained about SWAC refs. People have complained about SWAC refs like for years. And so what I always say is two things.
What's wrong with the SWAC refs now?
Okay, so two things. Never leave the game in the officials' hands. That's the first thing. You never get in a situation where you leave it in their hands. The second thing is nobody ever complains about the officials till it affects their teams. If nobody ever complains about the officials till
that's a good point. So if Grambling would have won,
if Grambling had won, there would have been no issues. It would have been, and I say the same thing to Southern. I had the same thing with my people. The thing is people saying, "Oh yeah, well you know what he's saying." You have every right, but it did. I'm gonna tell you, it really caught everybody off guard because he was the last person on the call, and he knew it. He was like, I'm just gonna say what it is. He said something, he glossed over it, and he was done with it. But then somebody took him back.
Perry White.
And were like, hey, that's a lot. Can you unpack this for us? And when he unpacked it, he said what he said. Yeah. And I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, that was Perry White, the journalist out of Baton Rouge who did ask, hey, what do you mean by business decisions?
Right.
So, and he gave him the answer. But here's the thing that I do not understand. And I was down on the field after the game, and I asked for his initial reaction, his thoughts about the loss, and he didn't say very favorable words at that time. And but when we got to the press conference, he was a different person, kind of calmed down a little bit, took the full brunt of the responsibility for the loss, which a coach usually does, right? So I was like, okay, I guess everything's okay. And I was just caught off guard when I was sent that YouTube link that, hey, did you see this about Coach Joseph? Man. And to say what he said as far as I'm willing to pay for the fine, that's really like thumbing your nose up at the SWAC. But here's
why I think they did it. That's just my opinion. I think that's why they did it, honestly.
Well, here's a bigger issue, in my opinion, right now, Wilton. If the SWAC decided to reprimand him, and he did offer a forced apology there, what happens in the terms of how he's viewed with the kids, the parents, the organization, the administration right now? What's your thoughts?
You said if he does offer an apology?
He did.
Yeah. No, I think that more so than anything, with him offering that apology, I think they will look at him in such a way that like he essentially made a mistake. And he was caught in the moment, which a lot of times we've seen coaches and players do that before. But I do think more than anything beyond them, he's definitely going to have an S on his chest when it comes to referees now and what happens in close game situations. How I hate to say it like this, but to Keisha's point, until your team is being affected by the outcome of a game, that's when you're going to hear it. And so in tough situations, I guarantee you, whatever refs that are going to be overseeing games for Grambling, they're going to be high on alert to make sure or to see if he's going to have this same behavior once again.
Have it at Bayou Classic.
I guess the next guest we would like to talk to you about that one. So we're going to be back with Doug Williams up next, and then at 8:30 we'll have Emory Hunt and then we'll wrap up the show with our thoughts on the preview of the North Carolina Central game. But we'll be back in 2 and 2, and after that, we'll have Mr. Doug Williams to join us. Thank you.
So, what did you think of the pitch I emailed you?
Yes, the one that you emailed me. I remember. The Pitch of Dog Days. What a title. Here we are. Very Victorian, which I loved. Unique relationship is formed. I love unique relationships.
With a twist.
I know, because I read it.
Great. I'm going to tell them you're interested.
This is not just delivery. This is knowing even superheroes can use a sidekick. Walgreens.
Something amazing is happening here. The next era of AI has arrived. CDW data engineers are helping organizations harness the power of AI with Intel Core Ultra processors. The power to run workloads faster means greater performance, giving your team a better shot at success. Make amazing happen. CDW.
All right, Kyle T. Mosley of the Black Sports Insiders back with you guys, and we have our special guest, Mr. Doug Williams. How you doing, Doug?
I'm doing good, Kyle. How you doing?
Doing well, man. It's always great to chat it up with you, and now to have you here with us on the Black Sports Insiders. Talk about what's happening out in Washington right now, the exciting things that young Jaden Daniels is doing for the Commanders.
Well, it is a lot of excitement. You know, kind of like Dan says every day, you know, just one by one, just play football. And basically that's what we're doing. We're not worried about what we've done already. Is what's in front of what we got to do. So, you know, for me, it's just been a good ride in the last 8 weeks just to see the guys play inspired football and the young quarterback play up to his abilities.
Yeah, he's really setting the world on fire, especially that Hail Mary this past Sunday against Chicago. How was it in the building to just watch that happen, Doug?
Oh, you got to be a part of it to really explain, to understand how it really feels. You know, you 2 seconds left when something like that happened. I think most people thought it was over with, but it goes to show you that it's never over until it's over. Because it worked out. We had played lights out football for 3 quarters, and the defense, you know, played their hearts out. The offense was the one that had opportunity. We didn't take advantage of it then, but I think you know, Chicago caught up with us and took the lead, but we never gave up. So at the end of the day, that's what it all boils down to.
Yeah, and before I let the rest of the panel ask you a couple of questions, you, Jaden, and Michael Vick had an iconic moment. That photo that you posted of the 3 of you guys just together at that moment, how did that feel to have those young guys who really admire and look up to you be in one spot to be able to talk and share ideas?
Well, let me say this: for the old guy in the building, it was good for me, you know, to be able to take a picture with those 2 guys. You know, Michael Vick. You know who Michael Vick is. You know who he was. You watched him play, and now we got Jaden. And for me, just to be able to take a picture with him to have as a keepsake, you know, is something that you just don't do every day. So to me, that picture means a lot. Great.
Now, Doug, we have a Southern Jaguar. She likes to pick at people every now and then from Grambling. Keisha, any questions for Doug?
Well, let me help her. I got a Southern Jaguar in my family too. My sister graduated with Southern, so
she must be really smart.
The Jaguars don't scare me.
We'll see about that at Bayou Classic. We'll see.
Well, you know, hey, look, you know, I never got into that. That's for the fans. I'm gonna let y'all handle that part of it. I'm just saying.
Well, it is. It's always good to see you, as Kyle said. So my question would be, when you look at a young quarterback like Jaden, how do you, I would say, like form yourself as like a role model to him? Because I know he looks up to you. I mean, you're a legend. So how would you say you would be like a role model to someone like him?
Well, I've known Jaden longer than this year. That's the good thing about it. I've been knowing him since 2018. I met him when he was out at Arizona State. So
Okay.
I've been knowing Jaden a while, and it's easy. I think it's all about what you do in life is from a respectability standpoint, and you got to give him credit. I do for looking up to the guys that came before him, and I think that says a lot for a young guy. When a guy like that give you respect for guys who had played, whether or not it's me or anybody else that had played the position. And I think the other part of it being a African-American black quarterback, and him being who he is and what he's done and doing, I think it's an automatic thing. Respect comes with that.
Great. Will?
Hey, Doug, how's it going?
Good.
So I wanted to ask this question. When you look at the play of Jaden Daniels and what he's doing in Washington and really look at the collection of black quarterbacks that are in the NFL, how would you describe that feeling of looking and really taking in the black quarterbacks in the NFL today?
Well, let me say this. For me, I'm a type of guy that, I like the play of all the quarterbacks, to be honest with you, whether or not it was Brady, whether or not it's Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, but at the end of the day, it's something special about the young black quarterbacks in this league. And this year when the season started, there was 15 of them. And I said about a year or so ago, and I don't know whether I talked to Kyle about this or not, I said in the next 5 to 10 years, half of the league quarterback was going to be black. But I realized that it was a lot sooner than I thought, and it's something that I don't think it's about stopping these guys from coming in, because I think what happened, like Coach Rob always said, all the guy need is an opportunity. And what they're doing today is giving these guys an opportunity. And when you give them an opportunity, the gates open. And I think now there's too many young guys out there in college, high school, that's going to be coming in here, because people giving them opportunity to play. And, you look at me when I came out, I look back at the guys who didn't get the opportunity to play. And I think at the end of the day, that's the worst thing about being a black quarterback in my position, because the guys before me didn't get the same opportunity that I got. And these guys now get every opportunity there is if you can play the game. It's not about black and white anymore. It's about ability to get the game done and being smart enough to do what they want you to do. And I think that's the best thing.
Ray?
All right, man. It's my turn finally. I always go last, but it's all good. I'm the only born and raised Washingtonian on this show. You know what I'm saying? I've watched the team as a kid and covered the team for a few years in the past, seen you out at Ashburn. But I just want to ask what you think about how this young man is reinvigorating and re-energizing the fan base. I mean, the fans that loved you and the Hogs, capital punishment, I'm not going to say they were gone, but the stadium wasn't filling up. But now look at it. That Hail Mary was the craziest moment we've seen since the team moved to Landover in that stadium. What do you think about how just the fan base is now coming back, especially the older fans that you know and love?
Well, I think you got to look at it realistically. It's about winning. It's about energizing. It's about the team. It's about looking at some team and knowing that you got a chance to win. I think that's the most important thing. And what Jaden has done is not because of his ability, but it's because of the individual himself. I mean, every day I go in the building, I see Jaden. If I get there at 6:30, he already in there. If I leave at 6 o'clock, he's still there. And I think that's the difference in Jaden and a whole lot of other guys, is the fact that he's willing to put in the work. It ain't about all the things that goes outside of the locker room and in the football field. The football field and the locker room to him is big. And I think when you got a guy like that who's your leader, you don't have a lot to worry about. And I can say this, in a quick time, Jaden had come in there, and I think every player in that locker room respects Jaden Daniel. And he's just a rookie. I'm doing training camp. Sometimes, like I used to stay on the sideline, I just watch him and I watch the guys that he was hanging with who walk up to him, and it was all older guys. And in this business, if you got that kind of reputation where the older guys tend to deal with you, and you got one guy play defensive line, I saw him go there and they started joking. And this guy been here 7 years, and I ain't see him laugh in 7 years. And I think that in itself says a lot who Jaden really is as a person.
Well, that's great to see that the young as well as the older guys are gravitating to him and responding to his leadership. Let's move on to the HBCU Legacy Bowl. This year is going to be the 4th installment, right?
Right.
You guys have done a tremendous job. You, James Shaq Harris, as well as your staff, and Keisha Wilton and I, we have covered that game for the past few years. Talk about the importance of that game still today.
Well, and that's good, because I don't think the HBCU community really takes to that game, and that's what we're hoping for, because at the end of the day, it's the game, but there's a lot more to the game. It's the job fair that we have. And, we know the guys who play the game gonna have fun, but we put the job fair in not for the players, it's for the students that go to HBCUs to get an opportunity to interview and get a job. And I think, to me, that what makes the Legacy Bowl. The job fair makes the Legacy Bowl. I mean, anybody can have an all-star game, which I'm glad we got it, because now we give a guy who has the ability to play in the league, that you give people a chance to see them and to showcase their talent. We have a combine, all that into that game. Like now, the last few weeks we've been on the phone, on FaceTime, trying to find out who the guys are, picking the guys, and trying to get the best guys that's in HBCU to be able to play in this game. But I'm telling you, for me and for James, man, the biggest thing for this whole organization and this game that weekend is actually that Thursday and Friday, the job fair.
Yeah, I recall last year when I went to the job fair, and all the companies that were there, I think there were quite a few, especially Allstate, your title sponsor. They gave people jobs on the spot. And
last year when they walked in, Kyle, they hired 31 guys. Allstate did.
Yeah.
And we had over 100 companies there. This year we should have more. I just wish Southern University, Dillard, and Southern New Orleans, and Xavier, Grambling would participate a lot more, man. Because I think what happens, the people who work at these institutions don't really let these young people know what is happening. And here's the opportunity, everybody who go to college, get your degree to eventually get your job. Now you got a place down in New Orleans with this job fair. You got over 100 companies there. I mean, we had 13 NFL teams there. We had a couple of basketball teams there. If you want to work in sports, you got a chance. We had the CIA there. We had a lot of school districts there. I mean, we had everything up under the sun that you would want. A lot of banks there and stuff. So it's there if you want a job. If you're just going to school, that's one thing. But if you want a job, that's the place to be. And I just hope that the administrators at these schools would understand what is happening and get these young people out to these to the job fair.
Yeah. Look, I spoke to, I think it was 6 young people from Alabama State. They said, we heard about the fair. We jumped in the car the next day together, and they all drove down from Montgomery to New Orleans just for the job fair. And I think a couple of them did get offers at that time when I spoke with them. So that's a beautiful thing. You guys keep up that great work. Talk about what's happening with the combine. How do you guys actually go about inviting these young people who are the best of the HBCUs to that combine?
Well, fortunately, we have the combine is kind of run kind of like the one up in Indianapolis, but it's not exactly like that. And a lot of our guys not gonna get a chance to go there. We already know that, so that's why we had this mini combine. And the good part about that, the NFL works with us. So what we do is, we ask all the NFL teams to give us the best guys that you've seen during the year. They might not have a grade on them, what have you, but they'd say this guy here deserves to be in that combine. Because now they want to take a good look. Like last year, we had all 32 teams down there at the combine and at practice. So they want to see too, because they might not be sure about some of these guys. So with the help of the NFL and they provide all the scouts and everything to run that combine. So that's what makes it even better. And is that on in the Saints facility in the indoor, and that's how we really get the combine going. They give us a list, and then we pick the guys. We got a whole staff that picks the guys, and we want guys that can not just to be in the combine. We want guys that can shine and stand out in the combine, where they can see that we got guys that can play in the league.
Yeah, one of your offensive player of the years, he's doing it very well at the most valuable player at the Legacy Bowl is doing very well for the Los Angeles Rams right now, Xavier Smith, and also Davius Richard signed with the Houston Roughnecks, and he's due to play this March. Talk about that as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate he got hurt in that game. Running the ball, and we don't want quarterbacks to run the football. But I'm glad he had a chance to sign on the offseason, and Xavier had done a couple good things out there for the Rams, and I think that says a lot for the game. We got a young man that I know we scrimmaged the Jets up in New York, and he came to me on the sideline, kid Cargan, who's a return specialist. Now he's in Buffalo. Yep. So he played in that game, and we got a couple more guys who play in the game around the league that is on a lot of team practice squads. So we got quite a few guys on practice squads and things like that.
Yeah. Also, you have Michael Badjo from a few seasons ago. He's over in Europe playing.
Yeah, this is the opportunity that a lot of guys get. They want to play football, man. Come, if we invite you to the Legacy Bowl, come to the Legacy Bowl. And some of them might get invited to other games, but they understand you can play in 2 games. When I came out of college years ago, I had an opportunity to play in the Senior Bowl and the East-West game. It's about opportunity, and it's about an interview. Whatever you can do, if you think you're that good, you need to interview as much as you could.
All right. Any last questions for Doug, guys?
Yeah, I have one. Doug, when you look at the players that you do invite to the Legacy Bowl each year, what are some things that you wish that when they're coming from their respective schools that they knew a little bit more about before getting there?
Well, the biggest knock on the players coming in, and it is a legitimate knock, is the training part of it, and that's learning all the things that a combine consists of, all of the drills and everything. But the most important thing is the weight room. A lot of guys come in don't have the strength that they're looking for. It all depends on what position you play. If you're offensive lineman, if you can't throw up 225 pounds 22 to 23 times, you're weak, because these D linemen throwing that thing up 35 and 40 times, they're gonna beat you. And I think we lacking in that area and all the agility, because we don't have this training staff at these HBCUs. There's no reason why we shouldn't. Because, if you want a good program, you should have people that can help them grow.
I have one final question, Kyle. I do too.
Go ahead.
But mine is going back to the job fair. And I know that Steve Weish and Kevin Kaplan, we had talked about this last year. When you talk about, the administration from the schools, what do you think we need to do at our universities to make sure that the students actually get there to the job fair? Because we know how important it is.
Right. Well, I think number one, with what you all had to work with this podcast and everything, you got to get into the administrator's head. That's the key. Because, the students on campus, they really don't know what's going on. But you got these certain people that's over certain departments. You got to let them know, hey, y'all need to get to these kids and find a way to get them down to New Orleans for the job fair. I think that's the key. And I tell you what, we reached out to a lot of schools and with no answers or anything. And it kind of get frustrating at time when you got something for other people. And it's not for me and Shaq. We've been down there road. We talk about that all the time, but it's not for them. But it's good for us to sit back and see a lot of young people come in and get jobs and go on with their lives.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the emphasis of our planning committee, is to be able to push that agenda a lot more vigorously this season, to be able to make sure they understand there's some benefits for those young people, especially, like you say, at Dillard, Xavier, and Southern. They're right there. They don't have to travel as far as the Alabama State and the Florida A&M kids that I met.
No, you're right.
So that's very important. All right, Doug, any last thoughts, any last tidbits you want to share with the listeners at this time?
No, I just appreciate you all having me on, and hopefully a lot of people listen and understand how important the job fair and the Legacy Bowl really is to HBCUs. I think that's the most important thing.
All right, guys, that is Mr. Doug Williams. And Doug, we will have the Legacy Bowl when?
It's on, I think it's February the 20th or 22nd, that weekend. You know, it's late. It's after Mardi Gras. We don't have to worry about the floats and things like that. It's our week down there. We're the last thing of the year.
Last thing of the year. And it's all week long, guys. And it's a great time for those young guys. And a lot of those guys make some good long friends as well. Thank you very much, Doug.
I appreciate you all.
You're welcome. We'll be back
All
in
right.
2 and 2. And I'll have Doug's link up to how you guys can be able to support the HBCU Legacy Bowl as well. Take care.
So, what did you think of the pitch I emailed you?
Yes, the one that you emailed me. I remember. The pitch of dog days. What a title. Here we are. Very Victorian, which I loved. Unique relationship is formed. I love unique relationships.
With a twist.
I know, because I read it.
Great. I'm going to tell them you're interested.
November is American Diabetes Month. And while nearly half of us have diabetes or prediabetes, every story is personal. There are stories of strength.
Every day is different, not one day is the same.
Hard work.
No es tenerle miedo realmente a la enfermedad, es saber cómo combatir la enfermedad.
And heartbreak.
When she passed away, it was because of diabetes.
But no matter your diabetes story, we fight for you and to find a cure. Join us at diabetes.org.
All right, we are back, and I want you guys to listen to a special interview I had with Mr. Emory Hunt, who is an analyst for CBS Football, as well as the founder of Football Game Plan, right? And he started that many moons ago, right? Man, golly, I think back now, Will, Emory started Football Game Plan a couple of years before I started podcasting back in 2010.
Yeah,
So
it's been a while.
he's been doing it for a while, man.
Yeah.
So let's check out what Emory is talking about. When it comes to a team that's reeling at this time, like the New Orleans Saints are, what is happening inside that locker room where a coach would point the fingers at younger players, and where it's the veterans that are usually the ones who provide the leadership?
Well, you know, a couple things could be happening here. He's probably trying to motivate the young guys to bring up their level of consistency, to perhaps flatline their play and minimize some of those issues, and also trying to show that, hey, you know, these guys need to really step it up if they want to continue to play, because he may be hinting that some of these rookies probably won't get on the field if their consistency doesn't improve. But also, he is the leader of the football team, and it's your job to make sure that these guys are flatlining their consistency or being comfortable with what you're asking them to do in order for them to get out there and perform how you want them to perform.
So the onus really falls upon you, as well as your coaching staff, as well as the front office.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. You're the head coach. You're the leader of the football team, and you got to make sure guys are checking boxes and you're doing what you possibly can, the best you could possibly can, to get those guys ready to go.
Yeah. Are you surprised the Saints have been on this 6-game skid at this time?
Not necessarily. You kind of knew this team was going to have some issues going into camp. They were banged up. Coming out of camp, they were banged up, and they got off to a good start, but that was mainly due to the opponents they played. And you're supposed to win those games, and they did just that. But when the challenges got a little bit tougher and the noose got a little bit tighter around those situations, they weren't able to answer the call. And that's when you start to see a team that had some issues coming out of camp, and it showed itself in those ball games that they ended up losing. And that's why they're on this current losing streak.
Yeah. What's your evaluation of Spencer Rattler at this time?
Incomplete. I mean, you can't say much about him without an Olave, without, his a fair shake at the offensive line, or, he didn't come into the season as a starter. So it's just kind of like incomplete, playing like a rookie. So you really can't say good or bad things about him. But I will say he has to make sure he protects the football better in the pocket. He tends to put the ball on the ground. That can't happen. But in terms of the grade, I would say it's probably just incomplete.
Yeah. But let's turn our attention to the National Football League. Young rising rookies are doing some great things right now. Jaden Daniels, the clash between he as well as Caleb Williams last week was an epic game, coming down to that Hail Mary at the end of the game. And you also look at what Jordan Love has been doing, but also Malik Willis filling in for him has been really good, especially the games they were able to win when Jordan Love was down. Talk about the young talent at quarterback that we're seeing, and Bo Nix, he's doing a tremendous job as well.
It shows you when you're talking about, let's say, the Jaden Daniels, the Caleb Williams, the Bo Nix, they've played a lot of football in college, so that kind of helps ease their transition to the NFL game. Malik Willis is showing you the value of coaching and a coach's belief in his player, because he's playing with ease, he's playing with calm, and he's showing you that, hey, coach believes in me. He's now empowering me to go out there and play my game without having to look to the sideline to wonder if I'm going to get taken out if I throw an incomplete pass. Right. He's allowed to play through his mistakes, and he's playing probably the best football of his career, both college and pro. And Jordan Love just has to stay healthy, but he's one of the top young guns in the NFL. And as long as he's out there, the Packers have a chance to really go far.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to C.J. Stroud, is it fair to say that teams have seen the tape from last season, his rookie season, and now they have made adjustments?
I don't think that's fair. I feel like he's dealing with a lot of the injuries in his receiving core, and that's affected some of the timing. Timing is all – our passing game is all timing based in football, and if you don't have that time on task with the same guys out there, you're going to have some inconsistent moments. And I mean, look, Stephon Diggs tore his ACL. Yes. He's out. And so now you have to put another guy in and hope he gets up to speed quickly. It's no different than the offensive line. If you have the same 5 guys out there week in, week out, you're probably going to get consistently flatline play. And I think that's I don't want to say plaguing, because he's still finding a way to make plays and finding ways to win games. But that's what's looking different this year with their passing game.
A lot of people have been mentioning that Shedeur Sanders should also be a part of this race. But you have the young man from Boise who's doing a tremendous job on the ground. You have Travis Hunter, who's getting a lot of the press as well. What are your takeaways when you look at this Heisman race at this time?
Well, we know it's an award geared toward quarterbacks, and also quarterbacks that are playing for the best teams. Now, if Colorado was undefeated, you could make a case. Obviously, Shedeur would have been there. Or be in the conferences, be top 3 or whatnot. But because they're not undefeated, you look at Travis Hunter being the most outstanding player. I still feel like he should be the front runner because of the name of the trophy is the most outstanding player. And he's done some outstanding things with how well he plays on both sides of the ball. Genty is putting up some ridiculous numbers, the running back out of Boise State. So that makes sense as well. But if you're looking at the quarterback, you're going to look at who's ranked in the top 5. And right now, Dylan Gabriel is playing some really good football, has his team ranked number 1. And to me, that's your 3-team Heisman, your 3-legged race in a Heisman in Dylan Gabriel, Travis Hunter, and Ashton Genty.
Now on Thursday night, the big matchup between NCCU as well as South Carolina State, Chase Berry versus Trey Oliver. What's your thoughts?
It's a fantastic matchup, man. And listen, there's been no drop off from Coach Berry Coach Pugh to Coach Berry. And we shouldn't be surprised. He stepped right in, did great things at Benedict, had those guys highly ranked in the Division II polls, playoffs. He goes to South Carolina State, and this team has always been able to get good talent, but they hadn't really been able to settle in on a good quarterback. Well, they got one now, his former player, Eric Phoenix. Yeah. So it gives them the balance that they need on offense. And we know defensively they're going to always have some guys on that side of the ball. And North Carolina Central coach Oliver has done a fantastic job and just continue to build on the legacy that Jerry Mack had when he was there. So this is a culture of winning. And, they have a very good running back in Jamari Taylor, explosive back, getting good quarterback play as well. So they're one of the more dangerous teams. I think this may be the MEAC championship game that we're seeing on Thursday night. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be pivotal. And South Carolina State, whether or not they win or lose, or if they lose this ball game, because they have some big wins out of conference, they may be putting themselves in position to get an FCS at-large bid based on how well they've played and the wins they've gotten out of conference in the FCS. And if they're able to run the table the rest of the way, looking at how the rest of the FCS has shaken up, where teams in other conferences are cannibalizing each other, South Carolina State can make a play to get an at-large bid, although I know they probably would want to win the MEAC and get to the Celebration Bowl. But this is these are two of the better teams in the FCS.
Definitely. All right, that was Mr. Emory Hunt. We'll be back in a short break.
November is American Diabetes Month. And while nearly half of us have diabetes or prediabetes, every story is personal. There are stories of strength.
Every day is different, not one day is the same.
Hard work.
No es tenerle miedo realmente a la enfermedad, es saber cómo combatir la enfermedad.
And heartbreak.
When she passed away, it was because of diabetes.
But no matter your diabetes story, we fight for you and to find a cure. Join us at diabetes.org.
This is it. Our last night sharing a room. Tomorrow, we'll be in our new home.
They told you buying a home would take years, but didn't help you start. Still, you kept trying.
You'll have a yard to play in, a place to dream.
Hope makes it happen. With tailored mortgage solutions, Hope Credit Union makes homeownership happen for thousands of people, regardless of income or credit. Brighter futures begin with Hope.
Is that your new Nissan Rogue?
Yeah, crazy story. So this morning, I'm at the Nissan Thrill of Summer sales event, taking a test drive. When Dave, the sales guy, is like, "You're gonna love this." He shows me the best-in-class fuel economy and lets me know it's recommended by Consumer Reports. When Dave says, "These cars are going fast," I knew I had to have that Rogue.
Nissan offers 6 vehicles starting under $30,000, like Rogue, with 2.9% financing for 60 months.
Hey, sweet new gear. It's like Best Buy hooked you guys up.
Pretty sick, right?
What is that?
That's our traveling trophy. Oh, that's what's up, man.
Ah, a goat for the goats. Fits these pro-level setups.
Last year's trophy.
Not a goat.
Nope.
What if you could get all the latest and greatest gaming gear from one place?
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit. Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio. That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
All right, Kyle T. Mosley from Black Sports Insiders. We are back and about to wrap it up. We may go a little longer tonight because we got some important stuff to talk about, guys. Halloween is upon us, and tomorrow is going to be a great one, man. I'm looking so forward to this game. I was thinking about trying to catch a flight, but I kind of realized my son is in college now, so I just can't do that anymore. Just can't hop on the plane. But I wanted to do so. So here's the scene. Oliver C. Dawson Stadium. It's going to be a thrilling matchup between the Bulldogs against the Eagles. You got Trey Oliver versus Chinnis Berry. Many are calling this the game of the year and may settle the MEAC football championship. You just heard Emory Hunt say the same thing. Well, how do you feel?
He couldn't have said it any better, honestly. And if you look at this game and you look at the stats between the two teams, you're basically talking about 1 versus 2 in everything. Like you have a North Carolina Central team who has a quarterback in Walker Harris, but obviously behind Walker Harris, you have a dynamic running back for Central and Jamari Taylor, who's not afraid to run over you, can run through the tackles, hit that edge. Defense is strong for North Carolina Central, but you have a South Carolina State team that, people may have slept on a little bit because, obviously Chennisberry coming after Buddy Pugh, we necessarily didn't know what that was going to look like at first, but Eric Phoenix is looking flat out phenomenal. You're talking about their running backs, and DeAndre Duhart, KZ Adams are looking great. And you have to give all of that credit to their offensive line, which has lots and lots of continuity. So, and you're talking about a South Carolina State defense. If you watch Chennisberry and the teams he assembled when he was at Benedict, you're essentially watching this play out at South Carolina State. So I think you're going to get a clash between two teams, and I think it's going to come down to, believe it or not, which team is going to be able to rush the ball, or which team is going to be able to run the ball the most, because I really think it's going to come down to that. That's just how I feel about it.
Okay, Ray?
I'm going to hop on this Eric Phoenix train. I'm going to tell you why. If you watch that Morgan State game, Todd Smith got to start, which wasn't expected. Deuce Taylor was reportedly going to start all the way up until they got to North Carolina Central. Apparently, Taj was good to go. He had an injury before, but he was able to get into the starting lineup. But he's not as mobile as Deuce Taylor is. Eric Phoenix can sling it and he can run it. And many Morgan State fans, we just had somebody who could have mixed it up a little more at the quarterback position. We would have stole that game from Central and ruined their homecoming. So now Eric Phoenix, if he can do just a little more than what Todd Smith did in that game Saturday with the running backs like he has, and he finds his running backs out the backfield too. That's something else he does well. Check downs. He knows how to make his reads. He goes to his progressions. He's made the biggest strides, in my opinion, out of that South Carolina State team. I think South Carolina State might come away with this win and mix things up in the MEAC, and it's going to be fun.
Oh, wow. Keisha, now, both of these guys very well. Last week, you had really great interviews to preview what we're here talking about at this time. Mixed emotions, Keisha?
Yeah, I'm not crazy enough to pick one or the other. I'm not crazy enough because I will hear about it later. But to both of their points, I think it really is. Coach Bear, he always preached about going 1-0, winning the day. And so even in the interview with him last week, not even with just Benedict, but with every school that he's been with, it's been championship teams. So he's won championships with every school, seemed like every school. And ironically, I was talking to an old Southern player yesterday, and we were looking at the MEAC, looking at the ranks with North Carolina Central, South Carolina State, and then Norfolk. And he said, wow, look at that. All three of those head coaches were on one staff at one time together. We were like, oh, yeah, the good old days. Yeah. But I really do. Like I said, I'm not crazy enough to say one or the other because I will hear about it again at the end of the season. But it's going to be a great game. I hate that it's going to be played on Halloween when I'm not in the house, but it is going to be a great game.
Yeah, it should be, a good one. That's how we say it. It's going to be a good one. And I'm going out on the limb. I'm going to say something. I know Trey Oliver's going to be mad at me. That's my boy, Chennisberry. I've got to support Coach. But I'm saying it like this. Either way it goes, North Carolina Central, South Carolina State, can Jackson State, FAMU, Alabama State, Alcorn State, Texas Southern, can those guys hang with either one of those two teams? How about that? Who's willing to take that one?
I'll take it. Go ahead, Ray. You go first. You go first. I'll go second, or however y'all want to go.
It don't matter.
Go ahead, Keish.
So I'll take the bait first. I've always said that, even with us with stronger teams, I always said I don't care who goes, I would be scared to face North Carolina Central. That's just what I've seen, and that's just me. It's just, when you're looking at it, even with South Carolina State, it's some blowouts. And so for me, in my opinion, whoever the team is, let me say that, whoever the team is, if it's North Carolina Central, you're going to have to build a real strong game plan. And in my opinion, the two teams that would actually be up for that challenge would be Jackson State or FAMU.
Okay. All right. Well,
that's pretty much my argument as well. I mean, as a person who's watched FAMU from the very beginning in that game against Norfolk State and where they are now, and having watched Jackson State even closer, being in Jackson, I think those are the two teams that would probably give them the best competition when you start talking about a Celebration Bowl competition. Because you think about Alabama State. Although we know that they're getting their offense together with a 5th string quarterback, and their defense is elite. It's very lethal. I just don't know if they would have enough to beat Central or South Carolina State in this particular case.
But what if Andrew Body comes back? Just throwing this out there in the scenario.
Well, we know he's not about to come back right now. So, but if this was
we don't know. He just got the cast off. We just saying.
That is true.
Cast off.
That's true.
He's not coming back.
No,
not this year.
But I will say this though. If a healthy Andrew Body was there for them, changes the entire dynamic.
It would change the dynamic. Yes. I really believe, and I know the Body family, but Andrew is a special guy, and Andrew proved he's a special guy for the Alabama State team just in that Orange Blossom Classic, right? But I'm gonna say right now, Jackson State, in my opinion, has the best shot out of the SWAC. I really do believe that. You talk about a team that's averaging 35.6 points per game right now, and you have a Central team as well as a South Carolina State. The past 4 games, they've been averaging over 30 to 40 points per game as well. So those clashes right there are very tempting, right, Ray?
Listen, I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. First of all, y'all already know the MEAC. We do to the SWAC in that Celebration Bowl, so it is what it is. But because there's a former MEAC player on Jackson State by the name of Sayers Guthrie, that's my guy. I gotta support Jackson State in that defense. It's not even about the offense for me. I think Jackson State can compete with anybody at the FCS level because I just respect the defense so much and what they do and how he's improved in his second year with Coach T.C. Taylor. And to be honest with you, as much as I'm South Carolina State for the upset this weekend, I think a rematch in the Celebration Bowl of Jackson State and North Carolina Central would be the most entertaining. And y'all already know those press conferences, what that would look like. My man Trey Oliver, he don't hold back.
He does not. That's why I have to watch what I say. He does not hold back.
No, look, Chinnis doesn't hold back either. If you guys saw that pep talk that he gave to guys, that was just something to kind of like, wow, just put goosebumps on your back, right? What you say?
No, they saying down there, he reminds them of a Baptist minister more than he does a football coach. That's what I'm saying. Like every time he speaks, they listen.
Well, look, man, he's preaching. He told me, he said, Mosley, this is my ministry. That's we're here to be able, this is when there's that Bennett. We're here to be able to help these young men. This is how we're going to do it. And this is my ministry. We got to give back to those young men, right? So that's what we're doing.
Football team. Oh, man. What about a football team? Yes, sir. It ain't close. This thing does not have to be close. Oh, man. It don't have to be close, guys. It don't have to be close. We got full control. We're going to get 60 minutes. It don't have to be close. We should dominate this team. And when we talk about killing that fly, we get a chance to send a message. We get a chance to kill that fly today, guys, for 60 minutes. Don't let up either. No wasted drives. No wasted moments. Don't even let it be close, guys.
Don't let it be close, guys. So, all right. So
right there.
That's the man, Chinnis Berry. But Trey Oliver said, I am the truth. Trey the Truth Oliver. So he's going to bring it as well. But all in all, I just want these kids to come out the game healthy, without any injuries, but also with great sportsmanship, because we're going to see some potential young men that may have a chance to get to the next level, but also going to the next level in life, being able to be productive young people in our society. That's the most important thing, right? On a sad note, Morehouse College lost 2 young people over the past couple of weeks, right before homecoming. One, and this past weekend. We lost another young man. So say a prayer for those families in their moment of loss and grief at this time. Any last thoughts? Any last words, anybody?
I'm just gonna say go Jags. Listen, I'm rooting for the Jags this weekend.
All right, go Jags. Will?
I'm good. Like I said, it's homecoming in Jackson State. They're looking to get a win to keep things going afloat in the SWAC, and it's just a really, really good weekend of another good slate of college football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Texas Southern is going down to the Bragg in Tallahassee. That's going to be interesting to see how Coach Dishman and those guys can be able to upset the Rattlers. Yes, that's what I'm saying. They're going to have.
I'm praying for them because they rough down there. I'm praying for them. They rough.
Rough down there in the Bragg, yeah. And Ray, what's happening with you? Any boxing?
Yeah, man, that pulled me away from the Norfolk Morgan game on Saturday, unfortunately. But I just want to say this, man. If you watched or you got a chance to see highlights from the North Carolina Central Morgan game, Elijah Williams was the best player on the field. If you heard the commentary, they said he has Sunday talent. He's going to be playing at the next level. I mean, block punt, force fumbles. He did it all, man. Sacks, tackles for loss. He did everything at Morgan. Morgan has a great defense. I really feel bad that they haven't been able to bring it all together in terms of having a complete team yet. But Coach Damon Wilson's making strides. That's my guy.
He's
And
getting close.
They're going to be competing. I still give him a chance this season, but they can't lose this weekend in Norfolk. But shout out to Elijah Williams. He played an amazing game and almost helped carry that defense to get that upset again at Central to again ruin their homecoming. But yeah, man, I'm excited about football. Yeah, boxing's coming up. It's more of a DMV local card this weekend, but some guys who you might be hearing about on the national scene in the next year or two, particularly a dude named Irvin Trey Pound Fuller, man. He's a star, man. Somebody who fights in the featherweight division, and he's going to be up and coming over the next few years. Look out for him. Yeah, we got another DMV boy. He's fighting named Lamar Roach. He's fighting against Tank Davis, hopefully in December in Houston. Same day as the Celebration Bowl, so I don't know where y'all will see me at, but we'll see what happens. Look out. You got some amazing boxers, Joe.
All right, amazing boxers, amazing athletes around the world. I think a couple of days ago, it was the 50th anniversary of the Rumble in the Jungle, and Ralph Cooper, who's down in Houston, Texas, he was there the whole time for both the Foreman camp and the Ali camp. And we're going to hope to try to get him on the show to talk a little bit about his experiences over 50 years ago as a young reporter. Think about that, Will and Ray, as a young reporter, just covering that. And Keish, just to be in Africa, right? Yeah. In Zaire, to just experience that event. That was groundbreaking, what they did at that time. All right, guys, let's have a great, safe weekend. We will have more. We're going to hope to have a recap show on Saturday night to talk a little bit about what happened in HBCU football. So stay tuned to that. It hasn't been done before, so we will do it. And I'm Kyle T. Mosley. That's Ray Rogers and Keisha J. Kelly and Wilton C. Jackson II. And we have Kim Davis, who is out covering the Houston Rockets. So, and the World Series, guys, go Yankees, but it looks like it's going to be the Dodgers. So you guys take care. Have a good one.